And I know I'm not the only ones. Definitely looking forward to what you got coming up next. Uh, it goes back to when Cody got released or asked for his release when he left the company. We'll say he had that list of guys he wants to work with. You know, have you made a list?
So it won't be as dramatic as Cody's one, I think. Like his, in fairness to me, did a really good way of kind of marketing how he was going to go about his next bit. And funny, I met Cody during that period, and he had said like, you know, I want to wrestle with you, and I was like, oh, this is my last appearance before I go to WWE. But he was a very cool guy actually. But like, you know, his that's almost like the first thing that happens is you start thinking, oh yeah, there's a lot of guys who I'd actually really like to wrestle. So yeah, like while I haven't made a really cool list, there is a bunch of people. Like obviously, back home in Europe, my favorite opponents were Rampage Brown and Joe Coffey. Now both of them are attached to NXT UK, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to wrestle them in other companies, depending on how it works out. They're just two guys who I genuinely adored wrestling. I adore watching wrestle. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to link up again at some point, as well as Axel Tischer, the former Alexander Wolf. I we had such a short match. We would definitely love to try and get in there. There's nobody I think would love hitting each other more than us. So that's all of the good and the bad of our friendship. But no, like honestly, other than that, like I'd love to link up with Eric Young again. Love to fight him. Miro was a guy who I think I only wrestled once on a house show. It would be incredible to get in there with him properly. Been a big fan of Miro's work. Don't tell him because he always beat me at like FIFA and stuff like that. But I really like his work, and it would be really cool. Likes of him, Kenny Omega, obviously. Moose, you know, is a guy who's just flying at the minute. And then over like Japan, I'd love to wrestle Ishii again. Like we worked in 2015. And it was one of my favorite matches. He doesn't have brilliant English, and I have no Japanese, so it was almost like a charades match when we were like trying to figure out what we would do. But the stuff that we didn't think of that just happened naturally out there is one of the coolest parts for me, because wrestling is universal. So the stuff we were doing that happened naturally, organically, was incredible. And like he was Tomohiro Ishii's this outrageously talented wrestler. And I'd love to wrestle him again, especially with the knowledge that I have now. Whereas at that point in 2015, I was less aware of how I wanted to present myself, because at that point, you know, you're playing for your audience as opposed to, you know, playing for your future. You know what I mean? So I'd love to wrestle him again. Shingo, obviously, this incredible wrestler. Followed his career since Dragon Gate. Like he's just on fire. I never got to wrestle Okada. He would be incredible. Like another one, like I adore is Andrade. He's a really good friend, actually. Like, but somebody I never got to wrestle with. Followed him when he was La Sombra. You know what I mean? And we were on tours together. But we were always like, if I was a face, he was a face, or if I was a heel, he was a heel. So we just never quite got a chance to mix it up. But he was one of the guys I looked forward to talking to. When we were out, or when we were drinking, or whatever else, or when we were on a bus. Same with Rush, ROH. I'd love to wrestle him. He's one of those guys who, like, I feel like he's one of the best on the planet right now. And like, I'd love to see what, you know, like how I would mesh with him. But yeah, there's so many. Like that's literally off the top of my head. But I know there's like about 30 or 40 more. I'd be like, want to wrestle him. But yeah, like the beauty of this is I can kind of pick and choose a little bit, and that's something that I'm going to try and do, because I'd love an opportunity to wrestle a bunch of these people, and there's just so many opportunities at the minute, and there's so many agreements and all these things at the minute, so these things can happen. So I'm very excited to see what the future brings, and then even like back home in Ireland, there's so many guys coming through at the minute who I've barely had a chance to see, because COVID's been awful for a lot of guys there. But so I'd love to really see what the scene's like back home in Ireland or back in Scotland. You know, I came through with I originally moved to Scotland when I was 18 years old to start training to be a wrestler. And like I kind of came up through that scene. So there's so many guys who've came through in the last 5 years who haven't really had a chance to see yet. So I'm really excited to see who's the next to come through, because we had this great batch of lads come out like 2009, 2010, 2011, and girls, sorry, lads and ladies. There was so many good ones who came through. Like there's Piper Niven's now on Raw. Keely Ray just lost the NXT UK Women's Championship. So like there's just so many like great talents who came out of that scene. So I'm excited to see who the next ones are, and that's something that, like, as I said to Robbie Brookside earlier, like he was always so good with new people that, you know, I'm hoping that that's something I can then give to the next group, is try and be there to help, or to at least, like, you know, I was so lucky. I had the likes of Doug Williams on shows, Robbie Brookside on shows. I had all these people who I could ask opinions of. Rampage Brown, for example, is somebody I would always ask, because I adored him as a person and as a talent. So I had all these people who I could talk to, and talk, like even Dave Mastiff's another person I forgot as well. Like, you know, there's just so many. Like I could say, this could be the next pod. I could sit here for an hour rhyming off people's names I want to wrestle. But yeah, like what I do want to do next is, wherever I go, whatever I do, is to try and help the next group that come through after me, because that's the only way that this scene, this industry is going to improve, is to continually make the next group better. They can learn better from our mistakes. And I noticed that, like, the group that came through, like, you know, that late 2009 or early 2010 group, who all, like, we all ended up on Rev Pro, Progress, ICW, like all at that kind of same time out of Britain. And Europe, actually, like Tommy N and stuff. Tommy N's another one as well. So
there you go.
They just keep coming into my head here. That's the problem. And I should write it down, actually. You know what? I will. I'll make a list.
There you go.
I'll put it online. I'll you know what? Cody's right. You know.